Well, Baruch Fleischman here with the Tikkun Elevator Kolel, and let's go right away to on page Shin Samach Dalad in the Matok Midrash. As we read this, excuse me, we're on actually not that page. I got it wrong. It's Shin Samach Gimel. And we're continuing on with this story about the Taninim. The Taninim are some kind of a snake. What are we talking about? And we said also in regards to Moshe Rabbeinu, he took his staff, threw it on the ground, and there we found that it turned into this tanin, this snake. Now, what kind of snake are we talking about? So yesterday, in the shir from yesterday, we talked about that this actually, the snake refers to I think, to the kesser of the klipa. In other words, it is the klipa that holds the essence of the Ein Sof Baruch Hu inside of it, but going the wrong direction, going against us. That's the way I kind of understood it. I'm thinking about when I'm reading this about the Matok B'Devash by Daniel Frisch, is that surviving the Holocaust, winding up in Eretz Yisrael, no food, no money, so on and so forth. Many people also were in his category. This is a person from a Hasidic background. He spent his life, first of all, he found a woman, a lady that he could marry. He got married, had children, of course, and who was willing to live the life of the wife of a Kabbalist. He spent a tremendous amount of time in Meron. He would be there studying, looking for people who knew the translations of the Zohar and different kinds of ideas. And here we have it presented it to us now. So we have his apostle Rebbe Shimon Ba'ama. So Rebbe Shimon began and he spoke. This is a quote from the Sefer Bereshis. He said, "V'yivra Elokim es hataninim agadolim." He made the big snakes. Ve'es kol nefesh achaya, and all living creatures, haromeses that swarm, asher shartzu, that would swarm, hamayim liminehim, come out of the water like fish swarm. But here he's talking about also coming out of the water and being on land. Haim kara high cross. So this pasuk, he says, this is Rebbe Shimon speaking. The rabbis have talked about this pasuk in details in the Medrashim. But now, Nifrash Bezeh Ha'ofen, he's going to explain it in this way. Masha Kasa V'yivra Elokim Esataninim Hu Razas. That whole phrase is a secret. And one of the things about this that's most interesting to me is that I don't know the secret, so I like to find out. He writes like this, Yesh Bo Sod. There's a secret there, V'hainu Dor. This is it. Now, see how he pronounces it. Liv Yatan. Ubas Zugo. So the Leviathan, I say it the way the English people say it. The Leviathan, this snake, Ubas Zugo, and his wife. Zehu Sod Leviathan. Shuhu Erich the Klipa Ubas Zugo. And what is the Leviathan? So the Leviathan, I don't know, so I'm not really sure how to pronounce it. I said that we have a Leviathan over here, and we have Leviathan over here, so we'll go that way. Shuhu Erich the Klipos. What is the Leviathan? It means the long line of the Atzilos of the Klipa. This is the deepest possible place we could go in the Klipa. Our tradition is Taninim Chaser Kasiv, that the Taninim is actually written missing a letter, so they have another yud in it. Hamora Ke'ilu Lo Choya Ella Tanin Echad, which is to tell us that there's only one Tanin. Begin the Katan, the Nukva, the Salka, so excuse me, the Kotel, the Nukva, because the Nukva is killed. The Salka Kucha Barichu Tzedikaya, and he takes the Kodesh Baruch Hu, lifts it up for tzeddikim. And what is he talking about? What is this story about anyway? So understand that he's making a statement. Everything that we have in the side of the Kedusha, which is that Erich is all in Metzilus, that it is a real close to Vekas to a Kodesh Baruch Hu. It's the template for our reality. But you have the same thing on the other side. On the other side, the side of the Klipa also has a mirror image of it, which is the Erich Anpin of the Klipa. This is what our subject is. The Fi Shaharaga Kodesh Baruch Hu. So he says like this, and I don't understand the sequence. I'm just reading, trying to understand. He said, Shahara HaKodesh Baruch as a Nekeva. The Kodesh Baruch Hu, is it possible to say that the female aspect of the Erich Anpin of the Klipa, he says, it was killed by Kodesh Baruch Hu. He means the Kedusha of a Kodesh Baruch Hu, Malcha, and he salted it, V'hekina this Udas of Tzaddikim, and prepared it for the meal of Tzaddikim, La'asidavo, in the world beyond. So basically, he kills the female aspect, which is the worst aspect of the Klipa. That is the most seductive aspect of the Klipa. And explains it. B'mesechtes Baba Basra Daf Ayin Daled Amud Beis. V'hakavana shahakona is this: Shakodesh Baruch Hu Hotzi Mahanakeva es Kol Haberurim. This is what he wants to say. In the female Klipa, that is the female aspect of the Erich Anpin of Klipa, holds all of the swollen, the smashed particles of Kedusha that are in the Klipas. Shakodesh Baruch Hu Hotzimach, he takes it out from the Nekeva of the Klipa, as Kol HaBerurim, all of the refined out Kedusha, V'hanitzutzin, and all the sparks, the Kedeshim, holy sparks, Shahoyuba, that were subsumed inside. V'asa lechem tikun haroi, and the proper tikun is made for them, ad shehem ru'uyim sheyahanu mehem atzadikin la'asidavo, until they become in such a state that these can become later, what is his word? Ruim sheyih mehem. Hatzadikin la'asidavo, they will make, I might want to read that again. Tikun haroi, proper tikun, at shehem ru'uyim, until they become fit, sheyehenem mehem, should be benefited, in other words, feed from them, hatzadikin la'asidavo, the tzadikim in the next world. So that's what a Kodesh Baruch Hu is able to do to the Klipa. Let's go on. Mamshech Devar v'Omar, and he goes on and he says like this: Kimash Kosev Hatanim Agado. What does that mean? Shu HaZohar the Erich the Klipa, which is the male aspect of the Erich of the Klipa. Anishar B'Chaim, which is still alive. That's the part he killed. The Kodesh Baruch Hu, according to this medrash and what they're explaining here, the Kodesh Baruch Hu killed the female aspect of the Klipa. What's left is the male aspect. Tesha Yeorim Inu. There are, in fact, 9 different Yeorim. He said Yeorim mean Kalim. Yesh Tesha Yeorim. Shehem Kalim shall Tesha spheres Tachtona shall the Klipa, which is the 9 lowest spheres of the Klipa. Dihu Ravetz Benayim, that it stretches in between the Klipas. What if she wrote this? Mispashet and spread besocham inside of the Klipa, besod neshama v'kiyos l'seis lechem kadei kiyosim, in order to be able to give them sufficient for them to continue to, in other words, enough to stay alive. Now, I just need to read it one more time. Yesh Tesha Yeorim, the 10 Kalim, which are the Kalim of the Tesha Sephiros Tachtona Shel Klipa. So let's talk about those 9. Yesterday he said that that's the 9 that when Moshe picked it up by the tail, that's the place he could handle. The head of the Tanim, that's another story. Dihu Ravitz Benachim, it stretches between them, Mispashet Besochim Besod Neshama, so this becomes like a Neshama inside of them in order to give them the chiyus they need. V'chad Yeore Ihu Demeimoy Shekivim, but there's one Kli, who the Yor Echad, one of these Kalim, Shuhu Kli the Erich the Klipa, which is the Kalim, this particular Kli is the Kli of the Erich the Klipa, Shemeva Shehem HaChiyus Shebesochel Shkatim, that it's the waters within it, which in fact are the life force that's inside of them. They're quiet. They're not making, I don't know what that means. They're quiet, but they're quiet. They're still. Uvrechon, the Maimon, the Ginsan, Naflum, Beit Tlas Zimni Bishata. So he said for the Habrachos, so let's use the brachos, but I think maybe he means the brechos. That is the rivulets. I guess we should say little canals. Shehem HaShefa, that is the water that's in those canals. Haniten lo kadesh ki yusam, which is given to this klipa he's really talking here about, I think, still the 9 lower spheres of the Erich de Klipa. Kadechi Yuso Mimei Hagan, in order to give them some sustenance from the waters of the Garden of Eden, which is, say, like a higher level, like is some level of Bina. The Haino Hamalchus de Kedusha, in other words, you're talking about Klipa. So the Klipa run right up to the Malchus of Kedusha. Noflos Besochos Shlosh Pamim B'Shana. So this Shefa from this Mayim is going to fall into the Klipa 3 times a year. V'kad Trin Zimnim, V'kad Shecha Mekabel Shefa Rak Shtei Pamim. But let's say it only gets Shefa twice a year. I'm not sure exactly when of the times of the year. I was trying to look to see what he meant. What did he mean, the 3 Shlosh Regalim? What does he mean? I don't know. Chesed Gvur Tiferes, I don't know. Hashefa rak shtei pa'amim b'shana. Mizbarach hachu ye'orach v'lochu v'kol kach. So when it happens only twice, then the shefa that's needed for this chiyus of the Erich Anpin of the Klipa is diminished. Oz Mizbarach hayar. So this work up here where it says v'habrachos. So it's not habrechos, which means like a rivulet. It's the brachos, but it could kind of go together a little bit. He says, "Oz mizbarach yor hahu ktsas." So then this yor, which is a kli, is blessed a certain amount, but not the whole amount. V'kad chad lav hochi, and if only has one time in the year that he gets shefa. V'kad shecha mekabel shefa rak pam achas b'shana, only one time in the year. Kamad ena nechshav laklum. It's like it didn't get any shefa at all. Now, what's the purpose of this? What is he trying to tell me? He was trying to tell me that, I don't know. Let's go back. Let's go on. Now this snake that we're talking about, which actually represents the Erich Anpin of the Klipa, he enters into this Yaora, which is a Kli. So that coming in, it comes into the Klipa like in a line, of a snake. He says it comes into the head of the snake, the Klipa. Niknas mislavish b'kli aguf. It goes then in through the head of the snake. It goes all the way and is clothed in the whole body. And when it's inside the body, it gets stronger. V'azel v'shat all go yama. V'holech u'mashotet, so it starts swimming, let's say, so to speak, in the water, so to speak. V'niknas b'sod nishmaso, and it enters into the secret of the neshama. The word neshama always means like panemius. It's a tzadi the salam. V'yakanzach b'sod nishmaso, the makom hakodesh, which is the place of kedusha. Let's go back over this again, because this is ultimately what the Klipa wants to do. It wants to make its way up through the ranks of the Klipa until it gets to the bottom of Malchus of Kedusha. Let's read what he said. V'holech v'mashotet, and swims. V'niknas b'sod nishmaso, and it enters, which is the secret of its neshama. The Makom Akadosh. He wants to go to a place where Kedusha is. Yonane b'malchut to Kedusha hanikwas Yam, which is called Yam. Yam is a gematria 50. 50 is the number of Malchus. Ubalanunim lakamat zinim. Ubaleasham, in that place, has been swallowed up in that place. Kama mini neshamos malachim, many different kinds of neshamos, different kinds of malachim, which are the tools of the transportation of ideas, from ideas or seichel from the Most High. Sheyesh those shaychos aleichem anikroim dogim. Now let's read again. What do you find over there in the goof that makes it so powerful? That makes this Erich of Klipa so powerful? There you find kani mini neshamas of malachim, different yesh those shaychos aleichem anikros dogim, and these different, what he calls them, he says malachim, neshamos. This is a panemius idea, the chiyus of it, which are called now, and they're separate. They're called dogim. They're called fish. V'shalet v'sav lahaku yaora u'pakoach zeh. And because now he's in the midst of this, and this shefa is now coming to him. Sholet v'chozer of the kli shelo. So this gets control of a it gets control, and it all brings all of this shefa into its own kli. Now, this is the best I can understand of what he's saying. I'm trying to do my best to understand. So he says somehow in this, he's saying that the goal of the klipa is to get to the bottom of Kedusha, which is the Malchus of Kedusha, and start taking some of that shefa. V'oz ilan tisha yorim ozlim v'salkim. So then you see hatesha yorim, which are the kalim of the Leviathan of the Erich of the klipa. Shehem hakelim shalatesha spheres atachtonos cholkim v'olim alav makabel shefa b'menu. So they go up, they enter into it in order to be able to receive that shefa. V'sachronaiku kama ilin v'saven l'zinaiku. Now around them, that is around this klipa, or I guess the sustenances that he's getting out of this kedusha. V'saviv v'yorim of these somkim kama mini ilonos v'saviv l'mineihem, so many trees and plants around the riverside. Shehem mini neshamas amalachim shenivlu b'klipa, and what are they? They're different kinds of souls, of malachim and angels, shenivlu b'klipa, that have been swallowed by the klipa. Now let's look a little bit more, because the Zohar itself is a little bit beyond me to know everything that is going on here. So let's read it out. Okay. Mesitra Smala, Bachad Sinora. Let me see if I got it right. On the left side, Bachad Sinora, in one channel. The channel Yor Harishon, the first channel, which is the Kli. Hu Yotze v'Nisakin Misharich HaTipos Shenishara Mezivuk HaKodesh HaYotze Mitzinor HaSmoli Shal Yisod Zer Anpen. Now we have to go back over this to describe this. It's a toughie. So as this shefa is pouring in, it comes to the first kli. Hu Yotze, it goes out. V'Nisakim Misharich HaTipos, and is able to build from the remnant of the drops. Now, what drops is he talking about? Shenish Arar, the drops of, I think, of the Shef of Kedusha. Shenishar Mezivuk HaKodesh, which remains from the holy Yichud of Zohar V'Noch, Yotzim Mitziner HaSmoli, which comes out of the channel, the left channel, Shel Yisod Zeranpan. Now, I'm not sure that I have this in my vocabulary about the right side, the left side, and the right side of the Yesod of Zeranpin, but one thing we do know about the middle line is that it always splits. So that the Yesod of Zeranpin, which is the bottom of the middle line, which is the concept of the Tikkun elevator, it's the elevator, it has the ability, it splits. It has a right side and a left side. This is coming out of the left side, the Zeranpin, of the Yesod of Zeranpin. Shabo Yotzim Mayim Ha'akurim, from this is the place where I guess you would say the wastewater comes out. That's the left side. V'hainu, the Nagid V'Nakiv Tlas Tipim. So he says what? Nagid V'Nakiv means Shemamshik HaTipos. This is what is pulling down. Remember the Tikkun elevator. The elevator is actually Yesod. So the Yesod has the ability to ride the middle line. It goes up to Das and it comes back down and be mashpia to Malchus. So that's the whole concept of intercourse, really. Shemam shekatifos melamala, from up above. V'yotzos memenu gimel tipos, and comes out of him as a result of the shefa that he gets from a ma'ala. He gets 3 tipos. Shehem besod yamin, small, and emsa shehem the klalos agimel kavim, which means the 3 lines. These are the lines of kedusha: right line, left line, middle. V'kol tipa v'tipa is parish l'tlas tipim. Now each one of those 3 tipim splits into 3. V'kol tipa mischalekas the gimel tipos harehem tesha tipos. So now you have 9 tipos. V'kol tipa. Let's see. Let's make sure we're still okay. Get that camera. So he says, "Hey, Tehim Tesha Tipos." V'kol tipa v'tipa yisa'aved mine yorim chad. So each one of the drops, and we have 9 drops here now. I think it's 3. Each one has 3. V'kol tipa v'tipa na'asech mimenu yor echad. So each one of them makes its own kli. The hainu meratesha tipos, from these 9 tipos we're talking about, na'asa tesha kalim. L'tesha spheros hatachtonu shalaklipo. So you got to go through this really, really deep to understand what this is, and I'm going to keep working on it. Maybe we'll work it on this week as we finish here. The hainu meratesha tipos na'asa tesha kalim, l'tesha spheros hatachtonu shalaklipos. V'ilun inan tisha yoren. These are these 9 yorim we talked about when Moshe Rabbeinu grabbed the tail of the snake, which is a tani. He grabs the tail. That's the part he can handle. Tisha yorim the misaknim v'ozlim. Ve'elohem tesha yorim hamizgavrim, which are becoming more and more powerful as the shefa is being, well, I would say, being stolen, being taken. But we actually invite it in. Then with the power of din, because it's getting more and din-like. V'sha'atam sachron b'kol inan rikiim, and it starts swimming, flying. Sachron, v'sachron, it goes around b'kol inan rikiim through all of the heavens. What does he mean by rikiim? And it continues on, and it goes through all the Rikiyim. So the Matok adds in here, Lo Mavur b'mako. Okay, got it right now. Lo Mavur b'mikdash melech, which is an original Pirush on the Zohar, which everybody used up until the time of the Matok Medavash. And also, we have the Sulam, which is extremely popular, especially in Eretz Yisrael. Lo Mavur b'mikdash melech ma inyan ha-rikim kan. How do we get into the rikim, he says, but it's not really explained. Maybe what it's talking about over the Rizal and the Eitz Chaim and Shar Mem Gimel Beis. This is what he actually said. Know this. She'elach harikim, the Siyah. So the rikim of the Siyah aim kulam besod ha'agulim de Hasiyah. Now let's go back over this. This concept of rikim. What does rikim mean? In Olamar Asiya, which is the Kabbalists refer to our world as the Olam Ha'ufanim. Afan is a wheel. A wheel is the same concept as Egel. So he said the Asehem Kulam Besod Ha'agulim, the Asiya, the ball shapes of Olam Atzila. So we're right now, if you haven't thought about it, you're sitting or listening or driving through a giant ball. And all of the planets are balls, and the sun is circular. And everything moves in an orbit, which is circular. So this is the world of circles. Ubehem atzmos v'kelim v'oros mekifim, and in there we see the essence of the light itself, the kelim that hold the light, v'oros mekifim, then light, which is so powerful that it can't actually come into the kli. V'yosher ha'kli, and the straightness of the kli, zeh toch zeh. So makifim v'yosher, so yosher means light coming from the top to the bottom. Ha'kol zeh toch zeh. Everything is inside of the next thing. So this is the concept of panemios. V'saviv kol echad mechem yesh gam kem rakia. So surrounding each one of them is also a rakia. Shel sitra achra, of the forces of the other side. Shehem Yorim, which also what we call Yorim. Now let's finish this out. I think this is the end of the shir today. So what remains of these drops? Kad Simon the Mefak, when they finally completely come out. Masha Nishar Ma'osam Atipos. Now we're talking about, I think, the Tipos of Kedusha, but let's say Kusha Tigmurl that says when they finally are extracted, they come out. Ishta'aro Tipo Chada Chadanafka Beshkiva. Nishara Tipa Achas, there's still one of them, one of the Tipos. Sheyotze b'sheket, that came out quietly. Behind the shenisher mishayrech hatipos, and now that is the remnant of the leftovers of the tipos, is what this we're talking about. Nafel benaychum, it falls in between them. Zer hatipa, no fellas, it falls. A mispashetis, and it spreads. Bein osim ha-yorim, through these different, the yorim are the vessels of the klipa. Vis aved b'nei yorechada. V'nase b'menu yorechad, and it made only one kli. Hein the yora ihu haku the amran, so that yora that we're talking about, that's what we're talking about, the oslam b'shkivo, that was sitting quietly, laying down. V'zecha yor, hu ma shamarno, shaholit b'sheket, that its traveling is in quiet, v'nachas, and in a nice, easy way. V'hain the kli hakeser, the klipa hanal, and now we have understand that ultimately the final drop goes to the kli hakeser of klipa. So that's where we're going to stop today. We're going to continue on learning this Iyun and see what we can understand of it. There's a lot in the Zohar, this part of the Zohar, that's difficult to understand. In other places where we're also learning the Sifra Tzniuta, you see there are so many different views, all of them adding up to the same basic idea, but you have to see the views. This is Baruch Flashman. This is the Tikkun Elevator Call Out.